Hey, thanks, Nick. All right, so now we're going to change gears and we're going to bring in a not just a friend, but a dear friend in Jay Mohr. And the first thing I got to tell you guys to do is check out the American Lakers podcast. They are I'll say, Jay, we are a sibling podcast, but you guys are the official Lakers podcast. Everybody needs to go there and check out what you and Aaron Larsoul are doing. You are Jay Mohr 37 on Twitter. Aaron is Aaron Larsoul on Twitter. So check these guys out. They are absolutely doing great things. One of the favorite things that you do when I listen to the show is Coach Tony Bennett. All your impressions come in. So I love that part of what you're doing. And I wanted to set things up and then give you the reins, but I've been talking to announcers from other teams. That's one of the things we've been able to do. We've had Craig Ackerman from the Rockets. We've had Tim Roy from the Warriors. These are the guys that sit, there at the court night after night watching the pro teams play. And here's what they've all said. All of these young guys from the Lakers, you have to give them time. We've seen everybody, Tim Duncan, all these guys come in the league, Jason Kidd, all these guys come, and it takes a year, it takes 2, sometimes 3 years for these guys to get it right. Not one of these guys who's seen thousands of games. Tim Capstraw's been doing this forever for the Nets. None of them have said the word bust. They've all said these are young guys, good guys. Let's see what they have to do, and they've got to figure out adjustments. What are your thoughts on where the Lakers are right now?
Well, I think if those guys are right, and those guys are phenomenal at their jobs. They're better at their jobs than I'll be at anything in my life. And they are right. And there are no busts on the team. If you go to Kyle Kuzma at 27, you talk about him exceeding expectations, and Aaron Larsoul had a great point. If Kyle Kuzma plays like a 27th pick, we don't have a logjam at power forward position.
Right, yeah.
And, you do have to wait for the guys to sort of, quote-unquote, get it. I'm not a fan of potential. I like a ceiling. And I was so down on Brandon Ingram last year in the beginning of this year, and then it was right around the Philadelphia game at Los Angeles with 6 minutes left. I was about fifth row in the middle of the court, and I saw Brandon Ingram just somewhere up in his head where he said, I got Simmons. Screw this. Let's go. And it was on. And it was a futures party. Lonzo Ball wasn't invited. And it was Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, and Kyle Kuzma versus Simmons, that monster Joel Embiid, Ewing, Olajuwon, and Covington. And it was one of the most exciting basketball games I've ever seen in my life. We lost, and I drove home, and like halfway through my drive home, I go, oh my gosh, Ben Simmons' finger roll. I forgot about that. I kept these guys are so talented. I don't mind waiting, but you have to, if you're a number 2 pick. Julius Randle's a 7 pick, but it's his 3rd year, and he started every single game the 2 years that he was healthy. So it's a really weird season. I would like to think there is something brewing behind the scenes causing odd rotations, but I have no problem with the players. As Jeff Van Gundy said, your best players have to play better more often. They are, and then they leave the court. Or they're not on the court, then they go on the court, they play better. Julius Randle was 6 for 9 against the Cleveland Cavaliers. He had 8 minutes going into the 4th. That's unacceptable. He's your best player statistically across the board. Brook Lopez airballing 2 free throws after ducking out of a poster, not trying at all. He ducked out of a poster, and he's 7 feet tall, put a hand up. I don't know why he was ever on the floor again when, Jordan Clarkson has a turnover and he gets pulled. Boy, I'm hopping mad, Pete Turner, because I don't think the players aren't losing these games. I mean, they are, factually, but I think when your 3rd best power forward is starting, your 2nd best power forward gets 20, doubles what Larry Randall gets double what Nance gets, and then Kuzma comes in and he gets 20. I know the defense might be a little better, but you win by putting the ball in the basket, and this is not working, so why not change? We know what this gets us. Loss after loss after loss. It's frustrating.
Yeah, and
I'll take your thoughts off the air. All right. No.
These games, though, one of the things we covered last week is just this next series of games through Christmas. It's devastatingly hard, and not picking up that win against the Knicks, not a surprise, but it would have been nice because now you've got Cleveland, the Warriors, Rockets, the Warriors again. I mean, it's tough, and you're going to look at Christmas Day having 10 wins, and who knows the next time the team can go on an extended winning streak. It puts you at a .333 winning percentage, and it's a big hole to try to get out of. And if it is based on rotations, then yeah, when does that change? Who takes the?
Well, I mean, it changes when the rotations change. But I'm going to say the Knicks' loss was on the players because they got into a basket they traded buckets with a team without getting stops. And in the NBA, you can't do that. And you can't, it was kind of like a playground game or like an all-star game, Rucker Park, West 4th Street. And with like Michael Beasley and those guys, and Porzingis always going to hit his three, you're never going to win trading baskets. Because one thing the Lakers don't do well is shoot threes efficiently, as we know. The shots have not been dropping. There's not a lot of shooters, and that's why Ingram is so exciting, because he's just shooting and dropping from everywhere. Kuzma as well. Randall, too, figured out his power stroke there. But I don't know when that extended win streak comes. I really don't. There's games like Houston where it's just a blowout. That happens. That's cool. Throw the tape away and move on. And there's games that are entirely winnable. You know, when you're shooting 60% from in a game from the free throw line and you lose by 6 points, you would have won the game if you shot 70% from the free throw line. Guys aren't ready. The first game of the season, the Clippers, they weren't ready to play. There was a sinkhole on either end of the floor when the Lakers were going to the basket. But I have a theory that I talked about in the American Lakers podcast, why, and that when you keep saying next year we'll have room for 2 max contracts, the parenthetical is, once we get rid of these guys, the guys that are hustling every night trying to win basketball games, we're going to be really good. So then sort of, and I don't fault Rob Pelinka, I don't fault Magic Johnson, Luke, for any of this. I didn't see it coming. I was excited about the cap space, but everybody's contract expires. Randall's going to get traded, we keep hearing. Clarkson maybe can get traded. There's 3 guys you know are going to be Lakers next year. There's 15 guys there.
Yeah.
When 3 of them are going to be there next year, that's 12 guys that are like, wow, there's no cohesion. You ball for me, I ball for you. So instead of talking about Magic did it this week, instead of talking again about max contracts next year and, maybe 2019 too, how about we show a little love for the guys that are playing well right now? Because they are playing well. You can't point to an individual and say, that guy stinks and he shouldn't be on the team. Yeah. They're really good basketball players. And if these guys, I think, played different minutes and different rotations and stuff, and I think there's too much matchup thinking. Like, just go like Bobby Knight, man on a man. You learn this in junior high. If your guy gets in front, away from you, we're going to point it out on tape. Let me ask you this, Petey. Ready?
Yeah.
Would you rather have George Hill or Lonzo Ball right now?
I'm still big on Lonzo Ball. I'd take him in a second. A guy that can rebound, a point guard. I'm in it.
Would you rather have? I'm trying to think of guys. Would you rather have Brandon Haywood or would you rather have Brandon Ingram right now?
I'm all about Brandon Ingram.
Salaries and everything.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think Brandon Ingram now, like you saw in the Sixers game, I saw it the next Sixers game, but he's no longer fighting for things against certain players. He's just taking what's his, and that's a different attitude.
Went from potential to stealing that I laid off. Would you rather have Derek Favors or Julius Randle?
Man, Julius Randle. I think I would take Julius Randle. I would.
You just took 3 out of 5 starters.
I hear you. Yeah.
And the other team is the number 5 seed in last year's playoffs.
Yeah.
That's that. I could do that with the Celtics. I could do that with the Hawks. We're like a 6 seed. I mean, Hawks across the board. You take everybody on the Lakers except Millsap.
Yeah.
You could do it with everybody. Well, Warriors, Rockets, Spurs. Rockets, you take a couple Lakers. But, I mean, that's 5 teams you would take the Lakers, and they're all playoff teams. And I know people will go, well, if you make the 8th seed, you're not going to beat the Warriors. No, but I'm going to get a ton of local TV revenue, and I'm going to be a way more attractive team to free agents if I'm just that tenacious pit bull. Even if they get swept, if they're close and guys like throw down, that's great. We see that every year.
Yeah. Yeah, and another thing I've noticed too, when you look at the numbers, the Lakers aren't far from being a team that's not just an eighth seed. I mean, we're talking about 3 to 4 points a game in the negative. So that's if Lonzo Ball can figure out his shot, and he's always shot better than he's shooting now. So if he can find 3 points, if the defense can get a few more assists, that 3-point negative gap is going to turn into a 7-point positive gap in a second.
Yes, and that defense, by the way, was like 7th in the entire league. Is that too high?
I think that's right.
The defense has been exceptional, and the defense was exceptional at guarding the 3. Way too many layups, but the defense has been great. You can't judge guys like Julius Randle when you put him on an island against Joel Embiid. Like, who can stop the guy? And the defense has been great. I love this team. This is my favorite team of all the sports. This is what I love the most, purple and the gold. There's the gold standard, and there's the purple and gold standard. And I would start Clarkson, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Ingram. I would start Kuzma, and I would play Randle at the 5. And Aaron on on America's Lakers podcast goes, but he'd get eaten up when centers come to town. I go, by who? What? I mean, there's like 3 centers that are going to make you eat your lunch, and then you bring in Brook Lopez off the bench to give you 5 fouls. You bring in Andrew Bogut.
Right.
That might be the best smack I ever had. Come on, Gene Hackman.
I wish I could pull my Gene Hackman imitation out, but it's not any good yet, so I can't do it. It's just a lot of screaming.
I don't have one.
Yeah, well, neither do I, technically. It's terrible.
Oh, the screaming one? Then I understand that.
Yeah, you just talk like this. I mean, that's not even it, So,
it's kind of like a louder Nick Nolte. I used to put a hat on a hat.
It's a lot like Nick Nolte. Yeah. I wanted to ask you this, too, about the team.
Coach Tony Bennett, by the way. I swear to God, Brook Lopez, if you have all the free throws, you're going to take a trip out of town. Okay. That's all I wanted to say about that.
One of the things these other announcers, and I love that we get these other announcers because, it's like, I call it like shooting from outside. These guys have seen everything, and they do see the team, and they are not down on it.
Nobody from out of town. I'm sorry. I'm so passionate about this.
Yes.
No one from out of town in basketball is down on this team.
Right.
The only people down on the team are Los Angeles fans who have turned into like gossipy, like Real Housewives franchise people. They find the negative in everything because they follow the false narrative. And as you know, that's what we do really well in America's Lakers podcast is go, here's a completely false narrative that's coming from somewhere. Don't believe it. Tonight, after and please remember what you're going to say. I apologize.
I've
been really excited about Laker Rain and talking to my buddy Petey. Tonight, it's like the Lakers tweeted out, guys really stepped up in the loss to the Cavaliers. And then I tweeted, nobody steps up in a loss. Quote, great performances wasted in loss. And then I realized Larry Nance was on the list of guys that stepped up. Larry Nance could have thrown the ball. He could have hit a bull in the ass with a basketball tonight.
And there are bad nights, too. Larry Nance is going to have – it's one thing about this team, too. It might be Brook Lopez dropping 30 points. It might be Larry Nance playing on both ends. We just haven't seemed to put it all together. When I was talking to these other guys who look at the team from the outside, like we said, they're not down on the team. They're talking about patience and development. The other thing I've been asking is do you sacrifice going 100% for the win in order to – and I'm looking for Luke Walton's reasoning.
Whatever you say next,
yes.
No.
Okay.
You play to win the game.
You play to win the game. Yeah, I understand that.
Go tell Ron Artest. Last year, go tell Meta World Peace he's out there to lose.
Right. No, that's fair.
Go headbutt your head.
I want to make sure I point out America's Lakers podcast, the official podcast of the Los Angeles Lakers, hosted by you, Jay Mohr, at JMohr37 on Twitter, and Aaron Larsoul, at Aaron Larsoul. These guys are awesome. Analytics all day long.
Has he ever been wrong? Bitty. No.
Right. Yeah, no. So I do want to say what the other guys were saying is in terms of wins or losses, they never said to tank. But what they did say is that with young guys, you have to develop them. So maybe Luke Walton is trying to create scenarios, and maybe that is costing wins. But like you said, you play to win the game. And so within that, he's got to balance a lot of things out. And I'm assuming that Luke Walton isn't stupid, and Rob Pelinka isn't dumb, and neither is Magic.
He's forgotten more basketball than I'll ever know, but the young guys are on the court the most.
Yeah.
Julius Randle's not a young guy.
Right.
By Lakers standards, like the average age, I think, is 24 and a half. Larry Nance is older. Kyle Kuzma plays a lot of minutes. Jordan Clarkson's an elder statesman. He's 20 minutes. Why?
Yeah.
He gets you buckets. I mean, he's your backup point guard. You got one point guard that can't shoot, another one that can't pass. But every time he leaves the floor, he drops an F-bomb in Luke's face. It happened right in front of him, Pete.
Yeah, it's a problem.
So, well, it's a problem, yes. But I think the problem is the fact that I don't know why he's leaving the court either.
Right. I mean,
He goes to the rack, and that's contagious. You got to go to the rack. Good things happen. Look at Brandon Ingram, Jordan Clarkson, and when Lonzo's cooking, it's because they go to the darn rack, you know.
Yeah, creating
Josh
free
Hart
throws
tonight, baby.
That's
Woo!
what
Josh Hart, baby.
good playoff teams get to the line, and they get free buckets all the time. I mean, that's just what good teams do, and that's what I'm looking for is for the assists to go up and the foul shooting to get a greater quantity. Those to me are big indicators of success. I've had you for the 20 minutes I asked you for. I appreciate you.
No, let's go OT. Let's get free basketball.
Let's go double OT. No, but what do you think in terms of like your podcast and what you guys are doing as you find your stride? Where's the show going? That's what I want to ask. Where is the show going?
Well, it depends on what each game and each like sort of quarter of the season goes. I always like to make it fun. Like we play game shows, Price is Right. We play Pyramid. Aaron's analytics are off the charts. Like I'm actually surprised he's not working he used to do analytics for the Trailblazers. And he's a guy like, if you just throw huge numbers at him, he'll say that's 71% plus minus of this, and defensive rating of 103. You go, yeah, I was just going to say that.
Right.
But I think where the podcast goes is like we don't really do guests. We had John Ireland because we were at a game, and I know John personally. He's a great guy. But I don't want us to be those guys waving mics in their faces because you're not going to get a story. That's more for like the More Stories podcast where I can get a guy for 90 minutes
right,
and really chop it up. But I where it's going is where it is, and that's good because we don't do the gossip. You know, we had a LeVar Ball discussion, but he doesn't play for the Lakers,
yeah, come on.
and that's gossip stuff. And the truth, and I'm in a weird spot because, you know, it's the official podcast of the Los Angeles Lakers, but I have to be truthful, otherwise no one would listen to this podcast.
Right.
But they won't, and I have to, you know, give my opinion, but my opinions are based in data.
Yeah.
And if that costs me the official Lakers podcast, because PodcastOne, that's a great app, by the way, if anybody wants to get it, and you'll be on it soon with the Break It Down show, I'm certain. If anybody, you know, they own America's Lakers podcast, and the official Lakers podcast, it would just be a different host. And I'll be all right with it. And I'll go out knowing that I was truthful to Laker fans, and I was truthful to guys that work hard for a living and watch a basketball game to take their mind off of like their lives that are less than, their lives that maybe they've settled, their lives they work too hard, they got a sick kid, and like this is what takes them out of it, and they're yelling at their TVs. This is the Lakers, Pete. This
Yes.
isn't the Lakers. This is the mother effing Los Angeles Lakers. And we're talking about practice, man.
Practice.
No, we're talking about waiting for guys to develop. Who are we waiting to develop at, you know, at the cost of an older guy's minutes? No, it's opposite. The younger guys are balling, I think, and I think it's an inverse paradigm. I think the younger guys are playing the most. Lonzo plays the most. I mean, you know, everybody's pretty much at 31 minutes a night. Julius Randle had 13 minutes mid-fourth quarter, and he shot, 6 for 9?
Yeah.
Mid-fourth quarter, 6 for 9. I don't know about you. That guy's playing 40 minutes. And if his last deal of his contract for $4 million and change, I'm riding that car till I'm on the rims.
Yeah, I don't care if they're trying to keep him fresh. He doesn't seem tired to me. He seems like he's scoring points and mad.
He didn't do correct. Buzz Williams had a great speech, Virginia Tech basketball coach, formerly of Marquette. Everybody knows what you're against. What are you for? What are you for? He said, that's what I want to know. He says, I talk to my son, I say, don't do that. Get down from there. Don't say that. My son knows what I'm against, and I hate it. What are you for?
Mm-hmm.
So Julius Randle gets in the best shape of his life, having started every game of his life, and he's the fourth guy off the bench half the nights.
Yeah.
What are you for? You have a superstar out of nowhere in Kyle Kuzma. He's coming off the bench because Larry Nance was back. Well, Larry Nance had 0 points twice. So what are you for? I'm not sure what that is, but I know Magic. I know Rob Pelinka is inexhaustible. Like, he's never, ever not looking under a stone for something. And I know that Luke is, when it comes to basketball, light years from where I could ever be. I never played it. I never coached it. But, it is what it is. And I think of the Marv Levy, coach of the Bills, said to me once, you got to be careful listening to the fans, because if you listen to them long enough, you'll be sitting next to them.
That's genius.
So the fine balancing act of like, well, you got to listen to them a little because the aggregate can't be wrong and the stats aren't wrong,
Yeah.
Look, this team is Coca-Cola stock in 1960. If you were going to invest in a business, and each NBA team was a restaurant, a hedge fund, or whatever, or a construction conglomerate, you wouldn't go with the Warriors. You're going to get a 1% yield. You know where they are. Same with the Cavs. Or you invest in the Lakers, if it was a business, you'll be a billionaire.
Yeah.
Because this team's going to go up, 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 up.
And there is a pedigree, 16 championships deep. That's what the Lakers do. That is that purple and gold standard.
Let's do it again where I'm not interrupting you to shovel my points in. Because
You did great.
I got to put my son to bed.
Yeah,
I love you, Pete Turner, and everybody subscribe to Laker Rain.
All right, take care, everybody. Thanks a lot, Jay.